What is up, everybody, and welcome back to Slam Dunk Comedy. Today we're going to be taking a look at the Eastern Conference. For the past couple of seasons, the Eastern Conference has been a flat-out joke. With only the team with LeBron James on it could possibly compete. With maybe only one other team in the Eastern Conference that could even put up a fight. A couple years ago it was the Pacers, and last year it was the Chicago Bulls. Now fast forward to this year, and the Eastern Conference could actually be a dogfight. There is absolutely no question that the Cavs will land the #1 seed in the East. However, it is so unclear who will have the 2 through 8 seeds. So here are my predictions. Alright, like I said, the #1 seed goes to the Cavs. There is really no need to discuss that. You have LeBron James, you have Kevin Love, you have Kyrie Irving, you have a pretty stacked team, so there's no question that they're not only the favorite to win the Eastern Conference, but the whole thing this year. Alright, now for the #2 seed, I'm gonna give it to the Miami Heat. Now this was a toss-up between 3 teams actually. It was the Miami Heat, the Chicago Bulls, and the Atlanta Hawks. The only reason I chose the Miami Heat out of those 3 teams is because they seem like the more complete team. They have players and coaches who have won championships. They have a really good starting 5. But believe it or not, these 5 players have never actually all been on the court at the same time. With that being said, looking at the players and their makeup and how they play, I think they will have some amazing team chemistry. You have great leadership coming from Dwayne Wade and Chris Bosh. The addition of Goran Dragic allows Dwayne Wade to take some offensive plays off from having to be the main catalyst. Alright, now for the #3 seed. I'm gonna have to pick the Atlanta Hawks. I don't think their season last year was a fluke at all. However, last year, the lack of size when it comes to rebound and post protection did haunt them in the playoffs. But they did address that with the addition of Thiago Splitter, who is a good rebounder, he's a good passer, and he can protect the paint. I know that they lost Amari Carroll, but his numbers could have been the result of the system that the Atlanta Hawks run, so I think any guy that throw at that spot will thrive. And that obviously leaves the #4 seed to the Chicago Bulls. The Chicago Bulls are interesting. There is no doubt that they have the talent on the team not only to win the East, but to be a legitimate title contender. However, I am very skeptical on how all that talent fits together. Another reason I had them slotted behind the Hawks and the Heat is because they got a new coach in Fred Hoiberg. And with a new coach comes a new system that they have to learn. So it might take some time for the Chicago Bulls to learn the new system, which means they'll get off to a slower start than both the Hawks and the Heat. And which means if they get out the first round, like tradition, they will end up facing LeBron James in the second round. Alright, now the second half, 5 through 8, where it gets very interesting. You're gonna have 7 teams fighting for those 4 spots. The Raptors, the Wizards, the Pistons, the Bucks, the Pacers, the Celtics, and the Charlotte Hornets. So for my #5 pick, I'm actually gonna say the Detroit Pistons. When you look at this team, it's just an overall better version of Stan Van Gundy's Orlando Magic. A lot of people overlook this team just because of their record last year, but they don't know the true story and what actually happened last season. If you dismiss the first third of the season where they had Josh Smith on their team and only look at the second half, they were a .500 exact team where they won 27-27. And the only reason they weren't better than a .500 team is due to injuries and lots of trades. So it took time for the players to learn how to play together with all of the adjusting lineups. So now if you look at that and look at the additions that they added over the summer, they only got even better. That's why I had the Pistons slotted at the #5 spot in the Eastern Conference. Alright, now on to #6. The Washington Wizards. The Wizards had a very quiet summer. They lost Paul Pierce but signed Jared Dudley, both of which aren't the biggest losses or additions, so I think they're gonna have about the same season that they had last year. But more growth from the young core of Otto Porter Jr., Bradley Beal, and John Wall should provide to be a huge spark for this team. I personally think if John Wall did not break his hand last year in the second round of the playoffs, then the Washington Wizards would have beaten the Atlanta Hawks and moved on to Eastern Conference Finals. Which is funny because if you look at my standings, I have the Atlanta Hawks pitted at #3 and the Washington Wizards at #6, which means they will be the first round matchup in the Eastern Conference. Which will be a fun series to watch, and I would expect it to go to 7 games. Alright, now to move on to seed #7, the Toronto Raptors. What I think the Toronto Raptors needed to do in this offseason was find a new coach. I know that everyone was surprised that Dwayne Casey did not lose his job after the Toronto Raptors got swept in the first round of the Eastern Conference while having home court advantage by the Washington Wizards. The Raptors were one of the more busy teams during the offseason, and whether or not they improved or remained the same is yet to be seen. They lost Lou Williams, Grizz Vasquez, and Amir Johnson, but they did get back Luis Scola and Amari Carroll. They will still be a good team, but the only reason I have them so low is because I don't feel they improved as much as the other teams in the Eastern Conference. Alright, now for the final seed in the Eastern Conference playoffs. This one was tough to choose as well. I was caught between the Indiana Pacers, the Milwaukee Bucks, and the Boston Celtics. And to think that two of those teams will have to miss out on the playoffs just shows how much the Eastern Conference has improved. However, I'm gonna have to give the number 8 seed to the Indiana Pacers. No one knows what this team will look like. However, they still do have Paul George, and I think he alone will be able to will this team into the 8th spot of the Eastern Conference playoffs. Hope you guys enjoyed this video, and if you did, make sure to comment down below your teams for the Eastern Conference, what you would change about my list, why you think your favorite team should make it, and all this other stuff, because this was actually very, very hard to do. When I sat down and looked at the Eastern Conference, I was surprised that I couldn't fit all of the teams into the 8 seeds, which hasn't happened in a while. But as always, guys, make sure to like, comment down below, and subscribe, and I'm gonna catch you guys later. Peace.